So welcome to another episode of Casey Pisses Off the Internet, because this morning as of when I'm filming this, I don't know when you're watching this and what happened that morning, but this morning I posted a video of towing a fire truck where we clarified a lot of the misconceptions and rumors that caused some anger about the California Palisades fires, thinking that would kind of clear things up and calm some of that down. But unfortunately, in the comments of this video, there's just a whole lot more false information and rumors and anger based on ignorance. And I am calling it ignorance because that's exactly what it is. People are angry based on a false reality that they've made up in their head instead of looking at the actual facts of how things work and why, and then basing an opinion off of that. So a lot of the people upset about this, you're upset about something that you've made up, not about the actual facts of the matter. That is ignorance. So I'm in the Beast today, and we've got the little low bed hooked up. We're done with it now, so we're going to run over and hook up to the 9-axle and take that out for a trip. A fire up there, but it's light smoke, so I'm guessing like a brush pile or something like that. By the way, you guys are on my 360 camera on the dash, so I can just spin you around and point you in whatever direction I want at any time while I'm editing this. I can even point you right over there and show you the chip in my windshield, because it is impossible for me to buy a vehicle that doesn't have a broken window. And in case you haven't figured it out by now, this is not a normal recovery, towing, whatever type of video. So if that's what you're looking for, go watch something else. This is to clarify what was said in the last video, well, as of now, and how the whole fire situation actually works. See, I have been a contractor for CAL FIRE. I'm a Californian from California, have had equipment out on the fires, contracted to CAL FIRE, have worked for companies that are contractors to CAL FIRE. I've been all over that side of it, so I do have direct knowledge of how it works on the big California fires and the process and why it is the way it is. Fair warning, I'm not going to use like the correct terms and all of that. Obviously not speaking for CAL FIRE. So like, also another thing people corrected me on in this video is I said fire truck instead of fire engine. Just like when I say my Willys wagon instead of a Willys wagon. I don't care. I don't care one bit. I say it the way I say it, and that's how I'm going to say it. And if you can't figure out what I'm talking about when I say fire truck because I didn't say fire engine, that's your problem, not mine. Work on yourself. So the big thing I saw is a lot of people very, very upset that the trucks were delayed at all. The out-of-state trucks were delayed at all responding to the fire. People said, well, that truck being delayed for an hour could have been life or death for someone. Yeah, and an unsafe truck and an improperly equipped crew on a fire can mean life or death too. That's why they make sure they all have the proper stuff. So none of these trucks were racing to the scene of a fire, lights and sirens. That's not how it works. You need to start out with understanding that there's initial attack and then there's incident management. Two very different things. Initial attack is what happens when someone calls 911 and says there's a fire, and then the 911 operator dispatches fire trucks to the scene. Those fire trucks turn on their lights and sirens and they drive to the scene and start engaging with whatever the situation is. Now, if it's something that is handled by that fire agency, whether it be a local, a state, a county, federal, whatever fire agency that responded, it's handled and it's done. Obviously, like, there's one team, one crew, one agency in charge of it. If more come in, like if it's a county and a city, depending on where it is, whatever, there's someone in charge. Now, in the case of something like the Palisades fire, big forest fires, where obviously it gets much bigger and a whole lot of more outside resources need to be brought in, then it turns into a major incident or a campaign when it's a really big one. And they start bringing in outside resources. Now, these outside resources are hired in. They're not just anyone shows up and starts fighting a fire. They are hired in by the agency managing the fire. In California, that's usually CAL FIRE. I have worked for CAL FIRE. I've been one of the outside resources that they hire in. Now, as far as the whole emissions thing, people are still saying that, oh, my friend, I know he got turned around because his truck was too old. False. That did not happen. There is no age limit on any of the fire equipment or responding contractor equipment. That means fire trucks, hotshot crews, pickups, pilot cars for low beds, low bed trucks, water tenders, dozers, excavators, masticators. There's no age limit on any of that stuff. If it can pass the safety inspection and has all the proper required equipment, and the people operating it have their proper safety equipment as well as their fire card saying they're certified to, you know, be there doing all that, it's good to go. The other thing is the equipment has to be ordered to the fire. There is also talk of people, oh, they know a strike team or hotshot crew who just showed up to volunteer and returned away. Yes, absolutely that happens, 100%, as it should. If you're trying to manage something as big as that fire and trying to send resources around to the right places and utilize what you have in the best way, do you want random people showing up and doing their own thing, and then you're sending a crew out somewhere that there's already someone and now you've just completely wasted all your time with this? No, you do not. You want to know who is there, where they're at, and what they're doing. Now, granted in all of this, I didn't say earlier, do I agree with all the decisions CAL FIRE makes? Absolutely not. Have I been completely pissed off at their decisions while out on a fire? 100% yes, many times. Do I agree with all of California stuff and their emissions? Nope, not even a little bit. But it is the way it is, and that's that. So, that guy was stuck way down low. You can hardly see his head over the dash. But yes, let's just explain the process as an outside hired-in contractor to a fire. Now, keep in mind, these out-of-state fire trucks and even in-state fire trucks from other agencies within the state of California are outside hired-in contractors, just the same as me with a water truck or a low bed or a dozer. They are not agency equipment. Agency equipment, if CAL FIRE is in charge of the fire and the one running the show, CAL FIRE's own CAL FIRE equipment is agency equipment. Everything that's not owned by them is outside, contracted in, hired in equipment, however you want to say it. Not theirs, and every single one of those pieces of outside equipment that's brought in has to get inspected. Now, a lot of people said, they're fire trucks, of course they're in great shape and ready to go. That's how fire trucks are. No, 100% false. Like I said, I have been on many big fires, and I have seen actual fire engines turned away because they were junk. Now, not all fire departments keep all their stuff in the best of shape. That's just a simple fact. There's a lot that do a really, really good job, most of them. Some do not. And now you also got to remember that when fire departments send equipment out of state to go help out on another fire, they're not going to send their newest, nicest, fanciest trucks, because one, they still have their own area of coverage that they need to maintain a minimum level of coverage in, which they're going to keep their main equipment there. And two, would you send your fancy, shiny, brand new truck where it's going to get the absolute living hell beat out of it in the woods and dirt roads? And I mean, trust me, on wildland fires and big fires like what happened in the Palisades, your equipment gets beat into the ground, like absolutely freaking hammered. So no, you're not going to send your newest, nicest stuff. You're going to send the backup truck. So does the backup truck have the best maintenance out there? With most fire stations, yeah, it's still kept in very good shape. But it's not all of them. So the inspections that happen to every outside piece of equipment that's brought in, even if it's stuff that's already in the state of California, is a safety inspection to make sure the equipment that goes onto the line is safe. So me, when I had low beds and all that stuff in California, if we got called to a fire, we had to go to either Davis or we had to go to ground support for that fire. When a big fire campaign is set up or turns into a big incident, you have fire camp, which is basically a tent city they build where you live for the whole time you're on that fire. And there are everyday morning briefings there. There is ground support, which is maintenance and repair work. There's inspections, there's fuel, there's all this stuff. And you have to go get your vehicle or your equipment inspected. It's to make sure the vehicle is in safe operating condition, because say your tires are junk and you go out on the fire line and you get a flat tire. Now you're a bigger danger to not only yourself, you're not helping the fire, but if you're on a road that only one vehicle can fit up and down and you just got a flat tire or anything that happened to disable the middle of that road, you're blocking everybody else who's trying to come in or out that road. That creates a big danger, and is exactly why there are vehicle safety inspections. The other thing is, You have to have all the proper safety equipment for the operators. Fire gear, radios, emergency blankets. There's a whole list of stuff that the personnel have to have. Again, it's to make sure you have the gear you need to stay safe while you're out on a fire. And then there's equipment or gear that the truck and equipment has to have. So if it's a fire truck, depending on the type of fire truck it has, there is a whole list of required gear: hoses, nozzles, connections, adapters, all kinds of different stuff that every truck of that type has to have. That way they're all the same. So if you get partnered up with this truck over here that's from Colorado, you can hook your hoses onto their hoses, you can share adapters, everything works in between all of them, and it's much more efficient that way. The water tenders that come in, same thing. They have to have the approved couplers and fittings and adapters and hoses that CAL FIRE requires, so that when a fire engine shows up for you to fill its tank, you can plug right into it and fill its tank. You can draft out of the different hydrants. You can do everything. I guess you wouldn't draft out of a hydrant. You fill out of a hydrant, draft out of a pond. I know, but I don't care with the proper lingo stuff. But it's required to make sure everybody has the same stuff and is working efficiently. The other one is like dozers have to have all their safety gear. The dozers, the fire screens, all the stuff, because they're out like in the very heart of it. So that is all very, very necessary. And the other thing is you have to be actually dispatched. So when you show up to a fire assignment, say whether it's me with a low bed or a water truck, or a fire department here in Oregon who got called in and asked to respond, you don't just show up to the fire. You have to show up to fire camp or base camp, whatever you want to call it, or wherever you're assigned to show up, and then get dispatched out from there. So people are mad that these trucks got delayed an hour for an inspection at the most. But what you're not realizing is these trucks just drove 2 days to get there. A lot of them more than that even. And they did not drive for 2 days with their lights and sirens on, speeding down the highway. They lights off, sirens off. Crew took their time to load up, make sure they had all their stuff, pack their bags for a week or two of staying out like that. Then they drove. They stopped for lunch. They stopped for dinner. They got a hotel room, stayed in a hotel, got up the next morning, had breakfast, drove again, stopped for lunch, went to the inspection, spent an hour there, again, at most, and then continued on to where they were assigned to respond, which is most likely going to be base camp or incident command. And from there, they're dispatched out. What's going to piss a lot of you off even more, but it's the absolute truth and how it should be done, is most of those trucks who been all that time to respond and get there, and you're so worried about them being delayed an hour, then got given 24 hours off at fire camp as soon as they showed up. Showed up ready to work. What's my assignment? Okay, my assignment is take 24 hours off. Cool. That's how it works, because if everybody showed up to the fire all at once and then all started working, everybody's going to get tired and need their break all at the same time. Then who's going to continue fighting the fire? So it's done in shifts. Like I said, initial attack and incident management, two very different things. And there's a point when it shifts from initial attack to incident management, and how it's all operated is completely different. There's no more responding lights and sirens. There's none of that. Now it's resource management. So the oh yeah, he's plenty far enough away. There's a gear there somewhere. There it is. So when crews show up, one, they've just been driving all day. You probably shouldn't send a crew who's been on the road for 12 hours straight out onto a fire line. They should probably get some rest, especially if it's their second day of doing that. Two, they need some rest so that the crews who are already out on the line have someone to relieve them when they come off of their shift. Now, on the CAL FIRE thing, for fire departments like ours here, any of the others that show up like that, they normally work in 24-hour shifts. 24 hours on, then I'll learn to shift someday. Then 24 hours off. A lot of the hired-in contractors, like what I used to do and work for and stuff like that, it's 12 and 12 shifts, which is kind of weird. It screws it up because you're teamed up with this fire department for this part of the day, and then they have another one come in for the second part of their shift. I think it should all be the same, but it's not. But either way, there's got to be someone available and ready to relieve the ones who are on shift when their shift is up. So you're worried about them having this hour-long delay when the reality is most of them showed up and got 24 hours off right off the bat, so that they were ready when the crew who was on the fire was ready to come off their shift. They could go on and replace them, and you keep an even level of coverage on the fire at all times. I'm gonna go open this gate. Okay, we are here. We're hooked to the 9X. We got air starting to feed to it, so we got to pre-trip this thing, get my battery tenders down off of there before I forget, make sure it's all good to go, and then take it out on its, oh, not its first run actually, no, actually not even its second. I know this is going to upset some of you, but you are not going to see what it's hauling today, because a lot of what this trailer is going to do is not like YouTube-y stuff, it's just go to work stuff. And today it is not YouTube-y stuff. So where was I at on the whole like fire truck thing? All our lights back here working. I'm going to stop this for a second and like check everything over without distractions to make sure it's all good, and then get back with you. Okay, we got our oversized sign on, we got our beacons working, all the lights checked out, trailers aired up, all kingpins all the way through are latched and good. Tires I checked all good, no air leaks, no nothing funky happening. So we're missing the flag right there. I'll put another one there. But once I do that, we're good to go. Steering is pinned and good and adjusted, so it should be all good there. And got our Oregon sign next to our not Oregon sign, so good to go. Like I said, I'm not going to show you what I'm doing with this trailer on this one, unfortunately, but maybe I will include some 360 camera shots from up on the headache rack, looking back over it as we get through town and all that stuff as this trailer snakes its way along, because people seem to like that. So I'm going to throw a flag on that back corner. That's why I have extras. And then we go that way. Alright, I am not 100% sure where we're at before I stopped to open the gate. So, in summary, you guys are mad for the wrong reason, or for a made up reason. None of these trucks that had to get inspected were, by the way, we got to back up and then go around this brush pile over here on that side so we can make our turn out of here. None of those fire trucks were racing to the scene to go right up to the line and start saving homes. That's, oh, I might have screwed up by parking my other trailer right there because I need to swing that way. Maybe I can finagle the Jeep around. Maybe. I think we're gonna be good. That's not what's happening. The fire had been burning for days before those trucks were even requested to respawn, and then it was another days before they even showed up and got there. So it was no big rush, lights and siren things that got stopped to, I think that's enough, delay it and all these houses burned down because of that. It's just not the case. How it works, once it's decided that you're needed, you are requested, you say yes or no whether you can respond. If yes, you are given a timeline to get there, and it's a reasonable amount of time for the distance away you are. They give you time, and so you gotta go around this brush pile and make this wide turn this way. And then they give you a place where to respawn, and once you, well, they give you a place where to respawn and get your inspections done and make sure you have everything you need to be on scene. And once you do, they either assign you to the line or more likely to base camp or incident command, where you will then be assigned to a division, then assigned to a shift, and you have to go through the briefings and all that before you can be deployed. That's just how it goes. Get upset if you want, but at least be upset for the correct information, not fairy tales that you made up. Not saying that all you did, but some of you definitely did. So I'm going to work my way out of here. Like I said, you're not gonna see what this trailer is doing today, but I will include some backup on the back of the headache rack shots of it empty, if I can. We'll see. All right, that's it for that. Be mad all you want, but be mad for the right reasons. Later. Okay, I lied. We didn't film any of that stuff. We're back at the yard. We got the little trailer hooked back up, the big trailer parked, got the battery tenders put back on it. I left the steering unpinned. What I've been doing lately to park it, it's actually working out really good, is I pull up there, I unpin the rear steer, I point the dolly at this hole right here, and then I just back up, and all I do is worry about backing up the Jeep, and this comes all the way to here, because it doesn't matter what I do, all this is unpinned and goes where it's pointed. When I get to there, because like I had to go like that, I walk back and I turn it, and then I back up and it goes around the corner, and I stop and I come back and I straighten it, and then I back up, and I just back the Jeep around and in here, and this goes right where it needs to go. And that sounds like a lot, but it actually is pretty easy and works out really smooth. So everything is parked and done. What we did all went well, but I didn't film like I said I was going to, because it was all up and down boring highway, which isn't worth filming. And then all the maneuvering and going around in and out of stuff like that, it's cool to watch this work, was where we were pulling into and where we were pulling out of, which is kind of the whole point of not filming it. So I didn't. But one other thing that kind of proves that the whole trucks getting turned away for emissions things was total bullshit is not even California trucks are bound to CARB regulations when they're on a fire assignment. So like in California, you have to have fully emissions compliance trucks like mine right here, and my other one too, where they've got the DEF fluid, the DPF filter, all that stuff. And yes, I freaking know that the F stands for filter or for fluid. DEF, DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. So saying fluid afterwards kind of redundant, but I don't care, I say it anyway. Because if you don't say fluid, no one really knows you're talking about the fluid, because a lot of people don't know what it means. And if you just call it D fluid, then people are gonna think I'm talking about something else. So I say DEF fluid. If you don't like it, that's great. You're more than welcome to have that opinion, just like I'm more than welcome to not care about your opinion. That's what I say. So in California, you have to have fully compliant trucks, like mine there, with the DEF fluid, the DPF filter, SCR system, all the stuff. Then you're good to go. You can go wherever you want, do all the driving around you want to do. There is the NOx exempt zone, which is certain counties in Northern California where the air is much cleaner. The trucks only have to have a filter on them. You don't have to have the fluid, DEF fluid. And they can run with just the filter, and they're good in those counties. And that's mainly Northern California. But while on a fire assignment, those trucks that are restricted to those northern NOx exempt counties can travel all throughout the state, despite the fact that they're not legal through the whole state, only for a fire assignment. Same thing as some trucks are on a limited mileage exemption where they don't have to have any of it. It can be an older truck like that old Mack over there, which is probably for sale if you want to buy it. They don't have to have anything at all, but they're limited to a certain number of miles per year. So that's like a rancher who needs to haul his cows to the auction 2-3 times a year, whatever it is. Not buy train tracks. You're not going to make that rancher go out and buy a new $250,000 truck to do 500 miles a year. So they give a limited mile exemption where if you stay under a certain number of miles per year, your truck is good as it is. And then those trucks, the miles they accrue while on fire assignment doesn't count towards their mileage and their exemption. So a truck can be limited to 1,000 miles a year total, and it can go do 5,000 miles on fire assignments, and none of that counts towards 1,000 miles that it's allowed for the year. So even California trucks are not bound by CARB regulations while they're on a fire assignment. Therefore, there's no way in hell out-of-state trucks are bound by regulations when they're on a fire assignment. That's just not how it works. It's not the way it goes. So, like I said, be mad if you want, but at least have the right information while you're mad. Okay, rant over, but if you're wondering, trailer's doing good. I'm still very, very happy with it. And then same with that truck right there. So I'm gonna head home and see what the next thing is.